Yo, what's up guys? Mike here, coming at you from the mushroom farm. Great video for you guys today. So today we're going to talk about packaging for mushrooms. I've got a couple different clamshells right here. Those of you who don't know, I'm a mushroom farmer. This is my full-time job. I've been doing this almost 10 years. This is my 8th year as a full-time mushroom farmer. I actually moved out to Colorado, built a brand new farm. That's one of the grow rooms behind me, so we're standing in the farm right now. This is actually my house, too. I live upstairs. So anyway, if you think this would be a cool channel to subscribe to, make sure you click that subscribe button right now so you get more mushroom and farming videos like this in the future. But anyway, I've made videos in the past, actually, about farmers market setups and how to be profitable at a farmers market. I actually sold at one of the largest farmers markets in the United States. It's actually the oldest one west of the Mississippi. It's in St. Louis, Missouri, called Soulard Farmers Market. I sold mushrooms there for several years, sold over thousands of pounds of mushrooms at that market, and I would actually sell over 100 pounds of mushrooms in a single day at that farmer's market when I would go do that market. So anyway, I put up some of these pictures of these markets. I had a lot of guys asking me about my containers, and like I said, I've done videos on this previously. I did a whole series called like how to crush it at the farmer's market. These are some of my first videos, and my new videos are definitely better, but check out some of those videos anyway, just because you can get some really good tips about setting up your stand at the farmer's market, just because I've got a lot of experience doing that. Now, this is my first year selling here in Colorado, and I'm kind of evolving my stand as the season goes on here. I'm really seeing like what the local people want, and just kind of like how I want to do my business here. Really what I'm focusing on is fresh mushrooms, because I love to grow fresh mushrooms. That's my main thing. You'll also probably see some tinctures on my stand eventually. I've talked about grow kits back and forth, but we may or may not do that, and I'll talk about that more in the future. But anyway, let's stay on the topic today of containers. So the number one thing I want to cover too, my last video I had some comments. People were asking me, how much weight am I putting in these containers that are on my farmer's market stand? Okay, so here we go. Let me just show you guys some pictures of my most recent farmer's market stand the other day. As you can see, I have these small boxes, okay, that I was selling 1 for 10 or 3 for 25, okay? And I let customers mix and match because I'm a cool dude. And my adventure box, okay? So I've always sold the adventure box, okay? And I want to tell you guys, I stole that name from someone. One of the guys, I just want to give him a little shout out here on the channel, Trad Cotter. If anybody, I had a lot of people asking me about mushroom growing resources. If there's any resources I'd recommend other than YouTube, I'm like self-taught through YouTube and through reading books. And one of the books, actually probably the first mushroom cultivation book I read cover to back, you know, was Trad Cotter's book on, I believe the name is Organic Mushroom Farming and Mycoremediation. So check that out. Go ahead and give it a little Google. But that was actually the first mushroom book that I ever bought and read back and forth. I just remember I used to have this job on the river, okay, working on the Mississippi River. I was actually a grain inspector. But I had read that whole book on the river probably like twice, 2 or 3 times, no kidding. And there's really cool sections in there, but he showed some of his farmer's market pictures, and I believe he had one in there that he called like a mix box, the adventure box. Either that or I saw him post a picture online. But Trad, I got the idea of the adventure box from Trad, so I just thought that was super cool. I've been doing it since day one, since I really was doing mix boxes. Now, not to get too off topic, okay? I want to just talk more about how I think about setting up these boxes, kind of my pricing, and then weight. Okay, so one of the questions I wanted to address from the last video, like I said, was how much weight am I putting in the boxes is a common question. I want to say too, if any of you guys have questions about like anything I'm doing, please put it down below in the comment section. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. I'm going to go back to that previous video and answer all the questions. I just haven't had time to do it yet. But I will say, I really enjoy your questions when you put them down there. Now anyway, so in these, I never, ever, just so everyone knows, okay, I want, when anyone asks this question ever in the future, because I actually get asked it all the time, okay, so everybody just comment and say, Mike never weighs his mushrooms at the farmer's market, okay? I never do it, ever, okay? And, like, I have a story about this. I'm going to tell you guys a story. Okay, guys, so the funny story, here it is. So as far as, like, weighing them, I don't weigh them, all right? That's just like a rule I stick with. Now, I did have a customer. I had this happen maybe twice, okay? So over the 10 years that I've been selling mushrooms, I've only had this happen twice at the very most, okay? But I never weigh them, and it's just kind of my thing. I do it because I want to save time. Time is your most valuable asset, and I like to just go ahead and put them in there. I feel like if it looks good to me, if it looks good to the customer, and we can agree on the price, what's it matter what it weighs? It doesn't matter! You know what I mean? So anyway, over the years, I'll never forget this moment because it's just imprinted in my brain, but I did have one woman walk up, and she asked me, how much do they weigh? And I told her I don't know for sure, but there's about 6 to 8 ounces in there. And she was like, you don't know for sure? And I was like, no. And she was like, well, will you weigh one? And I was like, I don't have a scale. I don't weigh them. I do this by volume. And she walked away. So I lost that sale, okay? And it only happened to me one other time. But, okay, the other 99,999 people didn't care, okay? So I just want to say, like, out of like those 2 people in my entire career as a mushroom farmer, they were the only 2 that have ever walked away because I couldn't tell them how much a box weighed. Whatever, dude, joke's on them because I'm giving deals on these things. And you guys will see kind of like as this video goes on, I like to just make sure the customer is happy. I like to make sure they got like a nice big bag or whatever. I like to make sure they get plenty of mushrooms for their money. Now, if I were to take a guess, I'll say in between like 6 to 8 ounces is typically what I'm putting in these things. So almost half a pound, okay? Every once in a while I get a little wild and I like put a little extra in there. I mean, yesterday I had some really big lion's mane in some of these and maybe had like some 10-ounce pieces in there or something like that. But that's just my thing. I never ever weigh these boxes, okay, ever. Even the adventure box, it never gets weighed. Now on this one, on average, in the adventure box, I'd say I'd have about 12 ounces or so of mushrooms. Usually just like less than a pound, okay? So I think like a pound max in these, but usually a little less. And then 8 ounces in these, but usually a little less. But every once in a while, Mike gets crazy, and he just puts lots of stuff in the boxes. So I never weigh them, and the whole reason is I don't want to take the time to weigh them, especially when you're doing giant farmers markets, okay? So for instance, remember when I was at Soulard, check out Soulard. Soulard was huge, guys. I mean, I would fill the tables up with mushrooms. I enjoyed filling the tables up with mushrooms. It feels so weird for me now, only putting in a couple of boxes out on these tables, and I can't really totally fill them up because it'll dry them out in the air here. I'm going to talk about that in packaging in a little bit, but like I said, I don't want to get too off topic. But anyway, I never weigh the boxes. You guys, subscribers, like I said, if anybody asks these questions, how much weight are you putting in the boxes? Mike never weighs them, ever, okay? I don't want to take the time to weigh them. It's not worth it, okay? Just get a box that kind of fits. And then a lot of people ask me, too, where did I get these? I think the store was Gordon Food Supply or something. It's like a restaurant supply store. I remember it was one of my first years at the big farmer's market. I was showing pictures of these. I was actually just starting to put kind of like my mushroom pictures online. And some guy commented, we're friends today on Facebook. He's a really cool dude. He's got a cool mushroom farm too. But he commented, and he was like, I don't know how I feel about you using plastic containers and selling your mushrooms in plastic containers, just because he saw my picture online. And I was like, hold on. I was like, I just display them in the plastic containers, and then I sell them in the brown paper bag. So I take the container and I take the mushrooms out. I bag them up right in front of the customer. I talk to the customer about the mushrooms as I'm bagging them, and I actually think about how I bag them too, so I kind of put the most delicate ones on top, you know, like you're bagging groceries or something. So anyway, I take the time to do that. I take the time to talk to my customer at that point. We usually exchange money at that point, but this gets reused, okay? So I have been reusing it. So guys, these containers are like 8 years old, okay? Believe it or not. So when anybody is concerned about mushroom farmers or people with plastic on our farms and consumption, some of us really try hard, okay? And I'm not really one to push hardcore on that kind of stuff. I like try my best, but we always have to take like efficiency into consideration too. But this works good because it allowed me to reuse this, so it saved me some money. It's environmentally friendly then because we're putting our mushrooms in a brown paper bag. But that's kind of like my story with these containers and kind of like how I've been using them over the years. And like I said, I never weigh these things. We fit approximately 6 to 8 ounces in the little guy, and then in the bigger one, it's like 12 ounces to a pound. I always make sure my customers are super happy when they leave my stand. I want them to make sure that they feel like they get a good deal. I have so many people, like yesterday, even with my prices, you guys have all seen my prices. Here's a picture of my stand. Everybody, when they leave my stand, they're like, man, I feel like I got such a good deal on this. Because one thing I also do too, one thing I like to do, I like to make sure my customer's bag is pretty full of mushrooms when they leave. Like, if they're buying an adventure box, I want to make sure they have a nice full bag of mushrooms when they leave. And I always give the customer the choice too, what mushroom to pick. I always say, like, hey sir, or hey miss, is there one you like more than the others? And if so, go ahead and pick that one out, and then I'll bag that one up for him. And that's how I do that. Now this is just my current way I'm doing this out here. I will say my style of kind of like putting them in the containers at the markets is different than some other guys. And I just want to say, I encourage you guys to watch like all these other mushroom YouTubers, because there's several of us now, and a lot of us are really good. Okay, for instance, like just me talking about this right now, Gary, I'm bad with last names, but he's German, Hefferelli, from Fresh from the Farm Fungi. He's got a very good educational channel, and it's funny because all of us as cultivators, we have similarities. Okay, you guys probably can tell, like we have similarities between each other, but then even like we all have our own kind of little style of doing things. And like when Gary goes to the farmer's market compared to a guy like me going to the farmer's market, we're entirely different. And it's good to watch both of us and just everybody, so you can like kind of get the idea. But see, I'm the type of dude, I'll put my mushrooms like in boxes or totes, and then I get there and I'll like put them all out, and I like to display them and stuff like that. And I will say, he made a video saying that he actually likes to take time to pack them, and then that way he can kind of relax more when he gets to the market. And I completely understand that, because when I get to the market, it's so funny. It's my personality type. I am like controlled chaos, guys. And like when I get to the market though, I like get there with all my stuff, and it's like boom, put it all out on the table, and then Mike is making transactions super fast and just going for it. Even like when I opened my mushroom retail shop, I had 2 business partners. Funny story, okay? So it was our grand opening, like the main day we were opening, and it's like 15 minutes before the shop's supposed to open. Mike is nowhere to be found. They're like, where is Mike at? And like they're ready to open the shop. They're super concerned, but it was because I know the most about all the mushrooms and everything like that. Okay, and these guys were just kind of along for the ride, to tell you the truth. And anyway, so I get there, and one of them was completely cool with it, because they knew me for a long time, and they kind of just knew my personality and how I was. And the other guy was like, why was he taking so long, and this and that. But anyway, so I show up like 10 minutes before we're supposed to open up, and I'm just like putting mushrooms in the cooler, like bang, 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 getting it all done. And we opened the store, and we had the biggest day of sales ever that day on the grand opening day. And I just crushed it, dude. And so it's kind of like, it's all about like kind of your own little style and like how you want to do it. But I'll never forget that day, because I remember my one business partner like that knew me and knew my personality. A lot of you guys kind of get me now, and I'm sure you kind of understand some of the other mushroom YouTubers and like our personality types. But it was funny because my one business partner was completely cool with it, because she just knew how I was. The other dude was like, oh my god, that was ridiculous. He was almost late. You know what I mean? But hey, I got the job done and we did really good. So anyway, it's just kind of like how I do things at the farmer's market. I choose to do things kind of like how I've been doing them over the years, where I just kind of put stuff on the table. I really like to create a really cool display. I've talked about that in the how to crush it at the farmer's market videos, where it's good to have a nice attractive stand. I could definitely make my stand more attractive with signage right now, and we will improve on my signage as the year goes on. One thing I do want to improve on right now a little bit is just being here in Colorado. Displaying my mushrooms is tougher just because of the drier air that we have here. And I'll just say, they like to just, when I have them out, regardless of what kind of cover I have, I've been missing them, I've been trying different things, but Gary from Fresh from the Farm Fungi, him actually having them packaged up, I'd say is an advantage from keeping them from drying out a little bit. So I may implement some type of like closing clamshells, or just some way I could create a cover, maybe a bakery display case or something like that. We actually use those in my old mushroom retail shop, as well as our cooler that we had. So I might build something, but because I like to display my mushrooms. I really don't like them in the box. I truly like to display them, but the one thing I am battling here, it's mainly like with coralloides. Coralloides really likes to dry out in the air here, so if it's sitting on your table a couple hours, it's getting kind of dry and it's kind of getting like an off-white color. Hericium americanum will do it too, but not as bad as coralloides will. So I don't like that too much. I'm trying to kind of work on that a little bit. But that's just a couple things you can kind of see with the different style of growers and how we kind of do markets. But like I said, watch all us different guys on YouTube, because we all have great tips, and just because we do things a little bit differently, I feel like it's nice just to see how everybody's doing. So maybe that way you guys can get an idea how you may want to implement some of our ideas. Maybe steal something from me, steal something from Gary, steal something from Trad Cotter. whoever, you know what I mean? Because if you take a combination of everything, Pablo Picasso, actually, good artist copy, great artist steal. So take what you can from all those different content creators and come up with a good combination for yourself. And you just apply it to your own situation. You could have a really nice outcome. But anyway, like I said, if you guys got questions about anything, drop down below in that comment section. There's crickets all over in the mushroom farm right now, you guys. I need like a frog in here to eat these things. So I'm like finishing the video hearing this and it's bothering me. But yeah, anyway, hopefully you guys found this video helpful and informative. If you did, please drop this video a like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Go over to my website if you need some liquid cultures. I've got awesome liquid cultures. Just click down in the description box below. You can go check that out over there. Also, give us a follow on Instagram if you're not already. But that's all I got for you on this one, and I will catch you guys on the next one.